Hey there, everyone. This is Nicole Emlu, the Social Worker Strategy Mentor. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how pushing the boundaries actually gets you what you want. And I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how to do it, why it's important, and why you should be getting what you want. So if that's a topic that is of interest to you, then stick around. This is really for social workers who are, you work in your 9 to 5, you're working more hours than you want to. You're not quite sure how to get on track with finding the balance, and you're feeling swamped and kind of overrun, not feeling that you're in control of what's going on, and you're struggling to know what boundaries to put in or how to put them in place in a way that doesn't damage your reputation or make you seem as though you're not a good worker or that you can't manage the job. This is the conversation for you. So if that's of interest to you, stick around. I also want you to please tag a social worker that you know this will be beneficial for, or share it on your page so that people can see it, other social workers can see it and find it. So one of the things that the reason why I thought this would be a good topic to discuss is because one of my mentees recently had quite a difficulty with this, and we really did a lot of work through it. I know that it's something that comes up on the program because it's just part and parcel of being a social worker, and so I include it in my program as something to address. And when we started out the session, it was just it became quite clear quite quickly that she felt quite overwhelmed. She felt as though life was just kind of passing her by, and before you know it, the week is over. And again, she hadn't achieved what she wanted to achieve, but not just from a work perspective of feeling that she was kind of not on top of things, but also from a personal standpoint in terms of how she felt, in terms of what she was able to not achieve or wasn't able to achieve personally with her family, for her own self. And when we were doing a part of the work, and in a particular part of the session, and I asked her a bit about herself and who she was, she really struggled to identify who she was, and what are the things that she wanted, what are the things that she loved. There was an issue around identity. And so part and parcel of that was because, she wears lots of different hats. But more than that, it's the takeover from work and just being on autopilot all the time and not getting a chance to like breathe. And so I went through a process with her that allowed her to transition from just feeling overwhelmed at the beginning to, at the end, feeling calm, having a clear sense of direction, and knowing what she needed to do, and actually having some tangible strategies to go away and work with. And so I'm going to share those with you because I think that it will be helpful for you as well as it was for her. So again, if this is something that you're interested in, please share it, please stick around. And you can also let me know you can DM me the word launcher if this is something that you'd like support with, and if you're interested in thinking about making the transition from full-time work to independence, full independence, because these are the kind of things and far more that we cover in the program. So it's actually very practical, tangible, as well as the practical steps to actually make the transition. We cover all of life so that nothing is kind of left out, because you're the whole being. So let me tell you about how I moved her from feeling very stuck, overwhelmed, feeling that life was just taking over and passing her by, and that she had no control, even from a work standpoint, to feeling very clear, having a sense of direction, very calm, smiling, at the end of the session, and just feeling in a much better space and having something tangible steps to work with. The first thing that you're going to want to do if you're feeling in this way is you want to identify the issue. And what do I mean by that? What is the issue that is actually causing, and there might be multiple issues that might kind of be all in one melting pot. What you want to do is take a bird's eye view. And part of this is, I don't want to say taking the emotion out of it, because it's hard to take the emotion out of it, but you need to take a step back. And I want you to think of yourself as a client in this situation, or as a friend, so that you're kind of externalizing and detaching to an extent so that you can actually do this work, right? So I want you to look at it objectively. What are the issues, and list them out. Do this as an actual exercise where you have pen and paper so that you can actually list it out, because you're doing it by yourself. You don't have, let's say, me talking you through the process necessarily, okay? So list them out, separate them if they're more than one. If it is one, identify what it is. And I want you to think about, when you're writing down what the issue is, it's going to usually involve a person when we're thinking about it from a work perspective. Okay. Now this can apply to any other scenario personally, but for the social workers that are usually following me and that I mentor, it's usually stuff around work. And so I want you to think about the scenario that would involve a person. And I want you to think outside of the person and recognize that I want you to go some layers deeper and think about beyond the person who is maybe imposing something on you or having an expectation of you or the system itself. I want you to go a layer deeper and think about why instead. Why is it that you have not been able to advocate for yourself, or been able to make clear what you want or need, or be able to make the necessary change required to get what you need and want? So, and by that this is not a blame thing, or saying that this is your fault or anybody's fault. It's just part of the process, right? It's part of the process in being objective and understanding what's happening. So if things have not changed and it's been like this for months on end, why has it been like that? Right? So look at the who and the scenario, but also look at why hasn't it changed? Because that's the crux of the issue. That forms part of the issue, and it's probably the nucleus of the issue, right? Because you can experience something that's undesirable in the context of work, but you have the power to change it, right? So that's the first thing that you need to do. The second thing that you then need to do is really look at, get clear about what you need and want. All right, get clear about what you need and want. They're two different things. You may need a particular thing to happen, or to experience, or to be given. And you may want something that is which means it's more desirable because it will be helpful, but be clear about your need and your want. So again, looking at it from a work perspective, what are your needs and what are your wants, and the why around it. Now, you can also attach to that, what are the underlying fears of you receiving or not receiving that? Okay, so what are the fears around that? And then I want you to be thinking about, what are the consequences around receiving and not receiving this? So you may want to get a notepad and pen at this point and be writing this down. This is obviously going to be recorded, so you can always, rewatch it over and over. But I want you to think about those things. Those things are really, really important, because this is the stepping stone, okay, to where you're trying to get to. And then the third thing I want you to do is make a request. Advocate for yourself, but there are some caveats to that, because this is about being vulnerable, essentially, right? And putting yourself out there on a limb. And so you need to think about, who's the best person? Who do you have a good rapport and relationship with that you can have that conversation with, number one? And number two, how much do you want to give them? How much do you want to share about why you're making this request and what the request is? And how it's going to impact you. I think that the level of vulnerability, there's going to need to be some vulnerability, so that you're making yourself very clear about the why you're making this request. So effectively, you are evidencing why you are putting in this request. And I want you to think about it in terms of, similar to when you have to write an assessment or report, or you need to go to your manager to ask for something for a client. They want you to evidence it. Why this is really important for you to be able to understand, to do this for yourself, is because, what we've seen from research is the mental health of social workers have declined since the pandemic. And many of us, or many of you, should I say, who are still working on the front line, are experiencing a lot of depression, anxiety, social anxiety, a lot of pressure, a number of things, insomnia. There's a lot of physical ailments and emotional ailments that social workers are starting to experience, even more so now. And so there is a real opportunity with that being in the public domain, to be honest and vulnerable about where you might be in that, and being able to say, while this is not impacting my ability to do the job, what I am recognizing is this is the impact and how I feel. And you're able to, the best thing that I would say in order to be able to share that experience and put in that request is similar to NVC, nonviolent communication. You're sandwiching what you are asking for. So you're starting off with something really positive, how you're enjoying being part of the team, you're enjoying working with the families, you're enjoying the support that you're receiving so far, and you can be specific with that. So if it's a specific person that you're having this difficulty with, for example, you can be specific with, let's say, the manager, and there's going to be something that they're doing that's helpful. It may not necessarily be to you directly, but you may see them being helpful or nice to somebody else. You can acknowledge that, and then you're going to start asking for what you want. So essentially, you're going to be, if we're talking about the sandwich, this is where the not so positive thing comes in. Excuse me. You're going to be talking about the fact that how you feel when this particular thing happens or doesn't happen. And then you're going to be sharing and saying what you would like instead, what your request is. Excuse me. It's water. It's water in a wine glass. I'm getting over the cold. I was sick as a dog all weekend. I spent more than 24 hours in bed. It's not COVID, thankfully. But yeah, I'm still recovering. So you're going to be asking for what you want and being very specific and saying why you need it and how it's going to help you actually perform better, produce better, deliver better, all of those things. And then you're going to sandwich it again with a compliment and thanking them for their consideration, thanking them for being understanding, and how they've worked with you in the past, whatever it might be. And then you stay silent and you wait for them to respond, and you negotiate from that point onwards. So it's something that's very, very tangible that you can actually go away and implement, formulate, take some time to think about it and formulate your sentence and your structure, what you want to say. And this may be really, really difficult if, you know, you're having difficulties with a particular person, but trust me, it works. It absolutely works. There's always going to be something positive to say about somebody, even if the positivity is not about what they're doing for you or to you. Okay, so just bear that in mind. And bear in mind the end result. Okay, so again, identify the issue, go layers deep. It's not just the situation and who's involved, but it's what are you contributing to, you know, the issue, and why haven't you made a decision to do something different or get out of Dodge. Number two, get clear on what you need and what you want. They're two separate things, okay? And there might be timescales attached to that. And then number three, make a request, advocate for yourself, okay? And that was going to involve you being vulnerable and being clear about the best person to approach. And it might be that you approach another manager who you have a really good, if it's that scenario, that you have a really good relationship with, and they're an ally, and then you have a three-way meeting, so you can still use the NVC method, but actually you've got some moral support to back you up. So those are some things that I would say that are really helpful, and that was just really useful for my mentee, who just felt so much more confident by the end of the session, that she was armed with something that she could go away and actually implement and feel as though she had something to actually work with, that she can rinse and repeat at any point in time. This can be used in a work situation, personal life, friendships, whatever it is. So I just encourage you, if you are somebody who is currently a social worker, working full time, you're working more hours than you desire, you're in a situation where you feel like life is just kind of passing you by, and it's the weeks, the days, the months are running away with you, and you're desperately trying to catch up, and you don't feel like you can ever catch up, and you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, flustered, stressed, you'd like to think about how things can change. what you can do, how you can do it so that you can actually make a transition into semi-independence or full independence, then please do DM me the word launcher and I will get some information to you. I'll probably ask you for your email so I can send you something, and then we can jump on a call and have a conversation about whether or not we would be a fit to work together, or whether there's any information that I can just give you so that you can start moving forward. So it's been helpful speaking with you. I've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Please like and share this so that other social workers are going to hear this also and they can benefit. And I will be back on Thursday. So I'll speak to you soon. Take care.